There are three constants: cold, and the moan. That is an ever-present danger. The second is our best weapon to fight it, and the third is proof our weapon is working, that the tools we have built to preserve us from the ice and snow are keeping them at bay. The world we knew ended 10 years ago. The great frost descended, and the cold never relented. There are no more seasons, no more warmth. Things we took for granted in our old life, food, trees, comfort, are difficult to come by. It is a hard life, but it is the only one we have. We go forward, day after day, driven by the same words that spurred us on since we migrated north. The city must survive. Frostpunk, the award-winning video game from 11-Bit Studios, is becoming a tabletop role-playing game from Catalyst Game Labs, longtime publisher of Shadowrun and Battletech. This society-building game pushes players to consider what they will do to preserve the fragile communities that they have built. Take on a variety of roles, from medic to engineer to hunter to explorer and more. See what you can do to build a society, confront crises, and overcome dangers of the continual cold. The choices you will face will not be easy, but they cannot be avoided. What will you prioritize? What will you value? If you keep hope in your people and reduce discontent, you can build something that lasts. But if things go poorly, people will let you know. You could find society crumbling around you and perhaps be exiled into the cold with no hope of return to warmth. Using the new Dice Core role-playing system, the Frostpunk role-playing game offers an easy-to-learn, fast-moving system that puts your character's decision at the center of any session, and allows you to try and build and maintain a city that somehow manages to hold people together. Back now for your chance to play an entirely new kind of RPG.
Welcome to Tuesday Newsday. I'm Rem. I'm the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst Game Labs, and I'm here today with my guest Jay Erickson. Hi, Jay.
Hi.
I'm kind of excited. I've only had Jay on for about 15 minutes behind the scenes, and this is like the first time we've really gotten to talk. So I'm pretty excited. I did put in the Tuesday Newsday description that Jay was a Battletech freelancer, but he's actually a Shadowrun freelancer. So, whoops, I'm sorry, I fixed it. But I'm excited to talk with you and hear all about your experience. But first, we have news. Let me check all my notes here. All right, so let's do the big elephant stuff here. So there's two things about mercenaries and Battletech that I want to share today, and let me make sure I have my notes up here. There will be a backer update coming later today from Tyler. But we do have this is the update. A few weeks ago, we let you guys know that there was the stock, the shortage stock counts were due from the hubs to QML. QML had passed those to Catalyst, and so all of the files have been gone through now. So during fulfillment, QML and its hubs identified incorrect stock levels for items that had originally shipped from the manufacturers. Catalyst is working with QML to shift stock between warehouses and hubs. Once shifted stock arrives at the hubs, international shipping begins. So that's pretty exciting. Outside of those stock shifts, 20 items remain short, consisting of mostly faction swag like coins and dice. The remaining 20 short-stocked items are Catalyst's focus for the week, and we expect to have those stock levels fixed quickly as well. So that's the news that I have. That's what I'm allowed to share about fulfillment, but all of the spreadsheets have been sorted, and we're spreading the missed shipments around so that we can get the hubs fulfilling as soon as possible. Secondly, this is a statement, I did release this an hour or two ago on Discord. So this is our statement about some European retail items that we're about to get out there. So it has been brought to our attention that several European retailers received notifications from their distributors that shipments were on their way for items from the Kickstarter that are not due for release yet. Our sales manager has contacted all distributors to put an embargo on those items and to stop any shipments they can to stores. Our release dates were communicated in July, and we expect our partners to communicate and honor those dates. Thank you to the retailers, fans, and friends that reached out to us to tell us about these issues. So that's the news I have for you guys. Thank you again for helping us catch this stuff. But if there's anything else that that we can feed to get questions answered and stuff like that, obviously we're watching those channels to get that stuff for you. So thank you guys, really appreciate it. Okay. What else do I have? I have a lot of news today. Sorry, Jay. So I also have PAX West and Nova Open are this coming weekend. So, and I have a list of stuff. All right, so hold on here. So let's talk about Nova first. On Thursday, there's Irby Derby from 10 a.m. to 12:30. There's open play, grinder optional from, he put everything in military time, and I'm so bad at this, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. New Earth Narrative Event Classic from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Is that 22? No, that's 10:30. 10:30. 10:30. So from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Is the New Earth Narrative Event Classic. Friday, open play from 1900 to 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. for an optional grinder. Irby Derby is from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. That's 21:30, right?
9:30?
Yeah.
That's 21:30.
I'm so glad you're here, Jay. Saturday, open play from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. with optional grinder. New Earth Narrative event for Alpha Strike is 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. There's a tournament happening, I believe, Friday and Saturday. So you can, we don't have the details because it's not a demo team event. Oh, wait, no, hold on. He did find me. Northern Assault Alpha Strike Tournament, 2 days, not 2 day, 2 days. 9:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday. So that is our update for Nova. And then I do have shout out to, I gotta scroll and find him. Where is he? Round something. I'm gonna get it. Round. It's on Discord.
I see notes are also saying they can't hear me. Can you still hear me okay?
Oh no! I
Yeah,
can still
so
hear you.
quiet.
Oh, okay. They should be able to hear you now. Apologies, I had to
Yeah,
mute
they
that
can-
for the videos and then didn't
No.
unmute. You're the best, Jay. All right, now you can hear Jay's dulcet tones.
Yes, my dulcet tones. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so that was Nova. So for PAX, I've got some stuff for you. We will be running BattleTech Grinder during the regular Tabletop Summit Expo Hall hours, as well as board game demos for a variety of Catalyst board games. Catalyst is running a special during PAX West, demo a board game and get 20% off the purchase price of a CGL board game, so that's exciting. Then we've got, I'm in stream mode, so I wanted to do a shout out for this person, but it's only showing me the first letter of, but thank you for giving me this info. This is James from the Catalyst demo team, lead for PAX West. James will be running a BattleTech Saturday Night Fight starting at 7 p.m. There will be a clash between House Steiner and Clan Jade Falcon fought in the tabletop open gaming area. There's room for 13 players in there. Shadowrun First Tastes will be there dependent on demand. Nova Open, I believe, is more of a minis war game convention, but they will have some Shadowrun. During regular, and those first tastes will be during regular Tabletop Expo hours, which are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Shadowrun sessions will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., 2-hour sessions Friday through Sunday, dependent on attendance. BattleTech Grinder and Learn to Play will be Friday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., Monday 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wow, that goes all the way to Monday. BattleTech Big Battle, the Steiner versus Jade Falcon, will be Saturday 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Board game demos every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I love the sign-off message he gave me. This is the final listing until the show starts, and then the wheels fall off. So appreciate that. Thank you so much, James, for that update for PAX West. All right, what else do I have? I've got some Shadowrun news. So we have, today I believe is when it launched, a pre-order for a new fiction anthology, Shadowrun anthology, edited by John Helfers and Jennifer Brozek. It's Magic, Machines, and Mayhem. So I'm going to drop that over here in chat. Boop. So that's the pre-order link, so you can get that. This was an anthology put together as part of the Shadowrun Edge Zone Kickstarter, so it's finally making its way out for public release. I'm gonna let you do the talking about this next thing while I dig out the link from all of my messages.
Talking about something?
Let's talk about Augment.
Oh, okay.
What do you know, Jay?
I know very little, but I will talk about it. All the little I know. So just like Shrapnel is a quarterly magazine for BattleTech, Augment is coming out as I don't know if it's quarterly, but magazine in the same style for Shadowrun. So if anybody out there is interested in finally writing for Shadowrun, submissions are available in various ways, and the editor is also Jennifer Brozek.
Yeah, Jennifer
cool.
has been doing so much for us. BattleTech, Shadowrun, you name it. But there's the link in chat if you would like to find out about submissions and what's required. But now we have a magazine for Shadowrun too, just like Shrapnel for BattleTech. So we're pretty excited about this. It's going to be brand new. I haven't even gotten to look at like what is in the submissions yet. I'm clicking the link myself right now. Augment is the
types.
What was that?
So there's a couple of types for submissions. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, here I'm gonna go ahead and take some time to look at this with you guys. So, Augment is the open call market for official short fiction set in the Shadowrun universe. This is an in-universe magazine that will be referenced in Shadowrun fiction by the fictional characters. Augment is the Cosmo of Shadowrun and is published by a division of Horizon. Augment your life with Augment Magazine is the catchphrase. Submission guidelines. What we want, we are looking for anonymous confessional stories of 2,000 to 3,000 words from a Shadowrunner's point of view. Sinless secret, or a corporate wage slave's point of view, sinful secret. The bulk, 75% of the accepted stories will be from the Shadowrunner's point of view. If you go for the corporate wage slave's point of view, it better be a good one. These confessional stories are secrets that the anonymous person just needs to tell the world, whether it's to confess, explain, gloat, or say goodbye. All stories should have an element of breaking the law, corporate, legal, organizational, familial, or otherwise, for what the anonymous author believes is a good enough reason. Bonus points for a creative sign-off, a la Bruised in Brunswick or Decker Unearthed Dirty Evidence. I like that. That's dude. And then there's format, there's what we don't want. What we don't want, I'll go through that one too, and then we'll, you guys can check out the rest. So what we don't want, the following items are generally grounds for immediate disqualification. Stories not set in the Shadowrun universe. There are other markets for those stories. Stories centering solely on romance, supernatural, fantasy, or horror elements. If your story isn't clearly set in the Shadowrun universe, then it's not for us. Stories containing gratuitous sex, gore, or profanity, keep it PG-13 and you should be fine. Stories under 2,000 words or over 3,000 words. Stories that cast Horizon or its subsidiaries in a negative light. Augment is an in-universe publication, so Horizon is not going to publish confessionals that make itself look bad, that boast about successful heists against Horizon. Publicly available Shadowrun fan fiction. If your story has been posted in a forum or other public venue, then we will not accept it. So, get in on your Shadowrun writing. And of course your Battletech writing too, with Shrapnel. But awesome. Cool. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I really like it.
Cool.
Seems fun.
The final bit of news I have here is that in 3 weeks, in September, I'll be going to Toronto. We'll be filming season 2 of World of Shadows. So if you haven't watched World of Shadows season 1, I think there's 2 episodes left for release, plus 6 Sides will be releasing the recorded games that we've done at convention. So you'll get to see the one with B. Dave Walters from Gen Con and Nora Ibrahim, and Tommy Rice, and some cool runners. So they'll be releasing those. It's every Monday at 8:30 p.m. And meanwhile, we'll be recording season 2. So season 1 takes place in Chicago in 2076. And season 2 is they're gonna be going to Boston in 2076. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, then watch season 2. I'll be having fun torturing them. That's all I got. Any questions you thought of, Jay? You speak for our audience at this point.
For Augment or anything in general?
Anything.
Okay. Let's see. 6 Sides of Gaming, you're the GM, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be running it with 6th edition?
Yep.
Okay.
Which I need to reread before every time I run it. Like I ran it at Gen Con, and I when we were on the stage, and I hadn't done my refresher reading, and I was like, I think that might have been a 5th edition rule. Oh well.
Do you have a preferred edition? I saw that a person asked me, I preferred 2nd to 3rd edition, but I do play 6th edition.
I've only played 5th, 6th, and Anarchy.
Okay.
Honestly, I like 6th. I love Shadowrun for the lore and the setting, not the rule system. I don't love any game for the rule system. I don't like a lot of crazy crunch, and considering that's what Shadowrun is.
Yeah, it's very crunchy.
Yeah, it took me a while to care enough to learn it. And honestly, I didn't even open the rulebook to read the rules until I was on my way to SDCC to run it on stage for the Critical Role actors. I was like, guess I need to know this now. I knew enough from like just playing and like the repetitiveness, but But the one thing that I do miss from 5th is edge. Like, I like the fluidity, and I get it now for 6th edition, but I just miss pre-edging or post-edging the rolls and rolling a crap ton of dice and, like, having that simplicity of this is your luck pool.
Yeah.
I do miss that. So I usually don't use edge a whole lot unless I'm doing a pre or post-edge for 4.
Okay.
So, but awesome. All right, guys. Let's switch over to you. I'm gonna ask you questions now.
Okay.
So, Jay, how did you first get into Shadowrun? Let's start there.
All right. Way back when in the 90s, when Shadowrun second edition first came out, I was something of a juvenile delinquent. I don't know if we could talk about that. But and so were a couple of my friends, and one of them got caught. And to kind of avoid juvie time, they put him on house arrest. He managed to, his brother, who was older, managed to actually get his hands on this book, and to keep our friend distracted, we learned the game. And then it kind of became a passion, right? We just started going to all the little comic shops in the area, all the hobby shops, and collecting all the books we could, reading them, just absorbing them. And then before you knew it, I switched from just being a player to being a GM myself. And I think that was kind of the nexus point, the birth of my writing. I started making these wild campaigns. My very favorite of all time was Bug City. That holds a
Ooh.
special place in my heart because it took place in Chicago, and I am a Chicago native.
Hey, I lived there for 7 years. I love the Chicago lore.
I don't live there anymore as well, but I grew up there in my entire life. And then once I joined the military, I obviously moved away. So, but most of my family still has roots there. So,
Awesome.
but yeah, that's how we started.
I
And
love that origin story. I love that your buddy failed to Shadowrun in real life.
he did.
And so, to pass the time and do his time, you guys played Shadowrun.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was, because we were young, we had the benefit of being able to play weekly, sometimes daily. Those days are long gone.
Yeah. I miss conventions. I was saying this past Gen Con, there were so many meetings. And I got to play Shadowrun on the stages and stuff like that, which is amazing. But my first Origins game fair, I spent the entire weekend in the Shadowrun missions room. And to not be able to do that anymore sucks. But, okay, so that's how you got into Shadowrun. So how did you first get into writing, even pre-Shadowrun?
Well, I mean, I was always kind of writing and fiddling with stories, but I didn't turn into like an author per se for many, many years after that. I continued to dabble in writing little comic book strips, that sort of thing. Nothing published at that time until around 2007 when I was deployed. One of my buddies, he was kind of depressed, and we were both deployed, and he was missing his family, and he pulled out, unfortunately, not Shadowrun books, but another RPG, and that was kind of bringing me back into role-playing games, because once I'd gotten active, I hadn't really played games that much anymore. Well, after we came back stateside, he introduced me to his gaming group. And up until that point, I wasn't a very role play heavy kind of guy. And this was a very theater of the mind group.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting, but enjoyable, Yeah, but it was nice to see these other players like so passionate about these characters, and it really inspired me. And I started to kind of write a story of their events, right? And it turned into an entire novel that will never see the light of day. Um, but that was it. That's kind of what unlocked like writing for me. Um, and then after that, writing novels became a little bit easier, and I started to create my own world. and I was published, and I have a series of novels out now. And then kind of, yeah, once I started going to Gen Con and other conventions as an author, and I realized how kind of small the world really is with the gaming community and the developers and all of that. Over time, I got to know a bunch of them in a way I would have never thought possible. And I originally tried to pitch John Helfers for a novel,
Ooh.
and yeah, and I failed terribly.
Oh.
And it's okay. It's okay. John's a very nice guy. But I came back a few years later, and that's when I ran into Jason Hardy, and he said, "Would I be willing to work on something smaller?" And I said yes. So it was kind of a nice full circle thing, right?
And when was
Shadowrun
that?
inspired writing. Was it?
When was that?
Oh, 2022, I would say.
Okay.
Right when Gen Con was allowed to come back right after the pandemic.
Sure. Okay.
Um, and he said, "Would I be willing to try something smaller?" So yeah, it was a nice full circle thing. Shadowrun inspired me to write, and then in the end, I got to write for Shadowrun.
Awesome. Cool. So have you written since I agree. The gaming industry is it's big but it's small. Like I get surprised because I'm like, man, I know so many people now, and then I go to a new show, I'm like, I don't know any of you.
No, no,
Hi.
yeah.
So like you kind of grow with it each time, but um have you gotten to work for any other companies because of
Yes. So I've worked with Paizo on Pathfinder First Edition and Second Edition. I did that
Wow.
before working with Catalyst. Mostly making monsters. I was, so what I write is primarily, besides for Shadowrun, fantasy, right? So I'm pretty good at creating fantastical monsters. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I create the monsters for my players.
Yeah.
Instead of just constantly using stuff out of the monster manual or the bestiary or stuff like that, I want to really evolve it, and
I
so
like
I'll create my own monsters.
I like that. I love my first Shadowrun game was run by one of the Shadowrun sourcebook writers. And and so like the ability to be play tested on and you don't know what's coming because it's not published, like if you're fighting a red dragon in D&D, like what you're gonna what it's weak to, what it's strong against, like
Yeah,
it's you kind of know like what to take up arms and do. But if it's something new that's being described that you're like, I don't know what this is and I don't know what, let's try fire. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try lightning. That didn't work either, and so I like that tension that builds from someone designing on the go.
yeah, and it's always very enjoyable. And then I got to do it. I got to run my players through the ringer before I would try and pitch it to Paizo. So that was very entertaining as well.
Awesome.
I torture my players. I shouldn't.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. It's interesting. Like I'll tease about torturing my players, but like a lot of times I feel like the fear comes like they'll be talking to themselves and role playing, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, "Yeah, GM, do we know blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "You can find out." And they're like, and it's like, I'm just along for the ride with them, and apparently that's terrifying.
Oh yeah, you let them work themselves up.
Yeah. I'm like, they're like, I think she's got something planned, and my brain's like a monkey with the symbols or something like that, kind of thing, and they're just driving themselves crazy. It's great. Cool. Okay, so we talked about you starting to write. Talked about you uh, approaching Jason and doing something smaller. So where did you start for Shadowrun? Tell us about your first project.
Um, there is a source book called Shoot Straight. It came out, I think, towards the end of last year. Maybe the release dates are always kind of finicky from when you actually write. Um, and yeah, he let me get my feet wet. I had to go through the regular process that a lot of freelancers have to do, but he took a chance, and he really liked the work I did. Um, and then wanted me to submit more. Like I said, one of the cool things about the industry, like we were talking, is the ability to communicate with people like Jason, right? It's not this He's not this elusive thing. You can just reach out and you'll get a response, and that's always very enjoyable, you know. So I wrote a chapter on extractions, and it was in the kind of point of view of a very veteran uh, rigger, and he had been doing extractions since like the 2050s. Right, so I got to go through. It was kind of work for me to catch up and make myself up to date on all the lore.
Mm.
And so as he was going through, he went through, like, he cited, I think, three, maybe four, of his extractions and what they entailed, like a willing subject, an unwilling subject, and then somebody that almost gets the crew killed. Um, and I was able to then kind of catch myself up with the lore by citing these different the events. Like I did one right before the Renraku arcology went on the fritz, so I got to go back in time there. And then I did another one in Germany, on the highway in a blizzard, and they were making an extraction. That was a lot of fun to write.
Cool.
Then the final one took place in the Bermuda Triangle, so I got to add
Ooh.
the Caribbean League and all that stuff in there. So it
I
was a lot of fun to kind of get myself caught up on the lore.
I just had an image of the story in the Bermuda Triangle, and it just shows up as blank. Like that's the book.
Yeah, it just ends. Yeah.
Chapter 1.
The end.
Awesome. I love it. Um, cool. So you've gotten to do some of that style of writing for and with the advanced rigor and stuff. You talked about having to go back and relearn the lore, or pick up on all the lore and stuff like that. How did you do that?
Um, Through picking up a lot of PDFs and rereading some of the old stuff that I hadn't touched in a while. And then online, Wiki is a great thing. Reddit, all the other sources, and then trying to nail down what was real and what was,
Yeah.
fan fiction. Um, and yeah, just kind of, and then, well, I should go back. Then I got into the Shadowrun freelancers Discord, right,
Mm,
where I was able to utilize them as a resource, which was invaluable.
good.
Shout out to Romain. He goes by Belleron. He's a French. He gave me lots of intel. It
Awesome.
was fantastic. Yeah. And that pretty much is it. I spent quite a few weeks reading up on my lore because I had played fifth edition, but I had only really kind of dabbled in it. I totally missed fourth edition. Um, and I'd only really dabbled at like conventions, just kind
Hmm.
of reinvigorating my love for the world every now and again when I could. But I was working these conventions, right,
Hmm.
as an author, so there's only so much gaming I can squeeze in.
Yeah.
Um, and then sixth edition came out, and I made sure I bought my copy right away, and kept up with the rules as best as I could. Um, like you, I do miss Edge. I think that was a great resource. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, Edge is still there, and you can still, like, I still use it the way I used to. It just used to
Hmm.
be, I played an Edge monster, so I had 7 Edge, and so, like, I knew in a certain mission or a certain whatever the rules were for my GM of refresh, I
Right.
knew I had a pool of 7 to run to pre or post Edge 7 times. So it was like, now it's like, how can I get back up to 4 so I can pre or post Edge again? Um, but yeah, and I think a lot of the rules too. I was telling someone about at Gen Con, they had gotten the beginner box and they were kind of trying to read through it and everything. And I think for a place to start, like if you want to start light, um, looking at your attributes and stats is a must. Looking at your your physical tracker and your stun tracker. You need to know where that is. Looking at your gear can tell you a lot. So if you have pre-gen from the beginner's box or something like that. But honestly, whenever like I've sat down at the missions table or at the tournament, for instance, and where you don't know the runner you're gonna get, and the first thing I always look at is positive and negative qualities, because that's just how you role play. Like,
Yeah.
if you have distinctive style, then why? Like, answer that question and lean into that. Like, if you have a soy allergy, anytime someone eats or gets something, what's in that? Like, kind of stuff, and just really lean heavy into the role play aspect of it. So that's all you really need to get started.
That's why I really kind of like with Shadowrun. They have those knowledge skills, right? That the
Yeah.
flavor skills, and it makes it a lot of fun. I also like with Shadowrun over some other systems the fact that like legwork is such a prominent factor of it,
Mhm.
and it kind of reverses the role for the GM. Instead of the player being reactive to what the GM is doing, the GM has to become reactive to the player. And I don't know, as a GM, I really like that kind of way that you play.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that like the first time I GM'd was a first taste at one of the cons for the demo team, and I had set up my I'll give away my secret, I guess. What I had done was set up where you met the Mr. Johnson. They had a box that they wanted delivered at certain coordinates, and I knew that the box was a bomb and they were blowing up a ghoul's nest. But like how they did it or didn't do it or whatever else, I had no plans, like no correct way to do it. So as they did legwork, they just kind of unfolded for me where I'm like, yeah, that would work. Or like, so every single one went on a different adventure. Some of them were like, well, what's in the box? Some of them didn't care what was in the box. Some of them, were like, I'm not going to blow up a place. I don't know anything about that.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was, it's fun
And
to
it
just
was
let
helping
them.
you. It was helping you craft the narrative,
Yeah.
right? It was helping you spin that, so you didn't have to worry about keeping them on this certain rail, or make the player feel like they're on the rails. They really feel like they have the choice in what they want to do.
Right. Well, and then even taking it further and like, oh yeah, I want to blow up ghouls, or oh no, like ghouls can't help the way they are, and like, so it's funny, like all of the choices that are available just from that skeleton.
Yeah.
So neat. Okay. Um, what do you have coming up that you're allowed to talk about? Anything coming up for release?
I don't really know what I'm allowed to talk about, so I kind of hit the ground running right after Shoot Straight. Uh, RJ took over for Jason, and Jason moved up further in the company. And I got out of I got out of the military, and I just really started pushing hard into writing in Shadowrun space. And so the last 6 books, source books, I am in all of them.
Nice.
And one of them, I'm pretty sure we're not allowed to talk about. I actually wrote 10% of it.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so that's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, the only releases I know of that we've talked about openly are the ones for this year, which I think is Tarnished Star,
Mhm.
Smooth Operations is September,
And smooth operations.
and then I think that might be it for this year, because September would be Smooth Operations and November would be Tarnished Star.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so smooth operations. Um, I have a fiction piece in that. So expanding the lore. Um, Tarnished Star, I assisted with something, but I'm not actually named in that.
oh,
Lancers help
okay.
each other.
Okay.
So can't take any claim for that at all.
Awesome. All right. Well,
But
let's
then everything next year is me. So
awesome. So next year is the year of Jay.
yeah. So either you're
Awesome.
gonna like it or you're gonna hate it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I got to play with one of my favorite AAAs, and they're not so AAA anymore.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops. Did you pull an Aries?
Oh no. I don't. Like I said, I don't know how much I can talk about,
Fair,
but
fair.
they've made some pretty crucial mistakes.
Ooh. Well, I'm excited. Um, Anything else you want to promote or talk about before we switch over to chat questions?
Yeah, I really don't even know what I can promote.
Fair, fair.
So,
We'll wait for next time.
all right, if you guys will back.
Awesome. All right, well, let's switch over to questions then. Edwin Lucas asks, do you play Shadowrun? We found out yes. And what is your preferred edition?
So excited! I have a soft spot in my heart for second and third. Second and third are really kind of close together.
Mm.
Plus, at the time, I was a resident in Chicago, and FASA was in Chicago. So anytime I didn't know something, I got to call them up and talk to them on the phone. That was the only real way to do it back then. So if I didn't know how to say pronounce Shiwase, I could call them and they could tell me. And it was really fun. I got to meet Tom Dowd. He was the author of Burning Bright and a lot of other things. And Burning Bright was probably one of my favorite novels because Bug City was my jam.
Yep.
So
I
yeah.
Where was it? It was Adepticon this year that I got to have dinner with a bunch of the Catalyst people and Jordan Weissman, and we
Oh,
were
that's
talking
awesome.
about Bug City, and he was like, "Well, do you know what Bug City was a like that whole event? What that was our real world symbolism for? Do you know?"
I always just read that was kind of their little thing for Escape from New York meets Aliens.
It's it's a statement on Scientology,
Oh, really?
the Universal Brotherhood, and
Oh, yeah, the UD, that makes sense. Yeah.
I was
I
like,
played
"Oh
all of
my
those.
god!"
I played Universal Brotherhood, Queen Euphoria. That
Mm-hmm.
was always a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Uh, Lorcan, who's one of our mods, asked, does the Shadowrun team have as rigorous a fact check team as Battletech?
They're trying. That, yeah, they're really trying to come down hard. As a matter of fact, fairly recently, they've even kind of outsourced a fact checker who is going through and trying to make sure that we've stayed on point over the years because fiction can diverge so much from the mechanics and some of the other lore, especially with the novels and that kind of thing.
Okay. Let's see. Shadowrun question is Edwin asks, is the Shadowrun first edition available yet? It is not yet. But I know we're trimming down to a street date. I think we talked about September. But I can't remember exactly, and I don't have it written down somewhere quickly that I can find it. So I'll have to. I have a meeting with the Shadowrun team tomorrow, so I'll double check with them and see what's on the list for. Actually, you know what? Let me check one spot for you. One spot.
I know it was printed as it was originally printed, so all the typos and everything,
Yep.
it stayed true to form.
Yep. Yeah. All I have is like an August or September thing, so I'll have to look at that during the meeting tomorrow. But thanks for that question. All right, what else do we have? Yeah. Jason Mallory. Hey Rem, if you're filming season 2 of World of Shadows in Toronto, is there a way I can get in on that? Jason, I know you've been messaging me on Discord and I need to follow up with you about that shipment. I've been a little overwhelmed, but message me there and let's talk about it, because I can message Tommy and see, because I'd like to get some rotating people into the cast, so I'm open to it. Mercs Kickstarter. Who is handling store credits for Kickstarter shipping and what is their email? For store credits at this point, it's Tyler, so it's tbuckner@catalystgamelabs.com. He says he has another round to go out here soon. I'm not that sure what that means. So email Tyler. Kevin asks, if I received a QML address confirmation a month ago, July 26th, and still haven't gotten anything, who should I contact? Let's see. Tyler says there's no need to. They send those out often well in advance of the shipment. But you can, if you want to follow up, you can send your question to the QML link, which I will drop into chat. Copy. Come on over here. Boop. Okay. Let's see. Bovi asks, now that Gen Con is far enough behind us, some of the fog is gone. How would you say it went? Score out of 100, things CGL learned or wants to do? Gosh, there's always so much that we want to do. We actually, our big thing we want to do is entirely redo our booth. Like the scaffolding that we have, we hate. So we want to redo all of it, but we don't know what that looks like yet. So not sure just yet. Board game division sold out of all but like maybe 25 copies of Centurion, but every other game sold out. And was sold out like by Saturday. So and we brought more than we did last year, so that was phenomenally well. We want to switch a couple things around with the way RPG is laid out and how we want to do that. We didn't have merch for it yet, but we did play tests for Voltron and for Frostpunk. My feedback was that Voltron was kind of around the corner and a little hidden, but Frostpunk did really well in terms of questions people had, and we had the giant banner on the tower for the generator. So that got some attention, and people wanted to play test pretty regularly. So that went well.
You had like a little table there too, specifically for it too.
Yeah. For Frostpunk and for Voltron. Sales went really well. They were up this year. Overall, so that was really cool, even though we didn't have as much stuff as we would have hoped for if we had been able to fulfill Kickstarter very quickly. So yeah, it went really well. I didn't get to do a whole lot at the booth. It was very busy for meetings and stuff for me, and then my team was there and did a lot of recorded interviews. Jay was one of the ones we didn't get to, which is why I wanted to bring him on Tuesday Newsday. But we have a bunch of content that we're editing right now and getting ready for release. I have an interview with Mike Ritchie and an interview with Jason Hansa. Those are the first two getting edited, so I'm excited to start getting content dropped. But yeah, I score out of 100. I don't know. I love Gen Con, so I would have loved to play more and do more always. So I'll give it a 90. I loved it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts that I haven't repressed at this point. Edwin Lucas asks, Jay, what's your favorite type of Shadowrun character?
I would say I like two. If I get to be the player, I like two. I like the drone rigger specifically, just drones, and not really combat centric drones. I've slowly turned into the more tactical player in terms of getting layout and stuff like that. So I have all the little ones, the tiny little Snoop drones, anything I can do to get any kind of overwatch for the rest of the party. Because I really like, again, with Shadowrun, the legwork aspect and the fact that like you get to openly communicate with your team, right? You're not restricted in any way because everybody's got comms for the most part. And so that really gets to set up a kind of a nice eye in the sky type of a character that I get to play. Or I like to play a shaman, a manipulative shaman. If I can manipulate you and get you to do what I want, that's the way I like to play. Yeah,
that's a line I never cross. I never do the mind probe and stuff like that.
I love those.
I'll do I like conjurers. I like combat mages. That's my go-to usually.
You like that DPS? You want to blow things up?
Yeah, or make them super slippery, and like I love car chases because then I just ice sheet
Yes.
everything, and I'm like, okay.
When
Good
I
luck.
when I GM, everyone's like it has one car chase in it all the time.
Awesome. Awesome. Wander Theta asks, is there an ETA on the Battletech 40th anniversary dice and dice tray going up on the web store? I need to check to see if those have arrived, because so what Fanroll did for us, because they're the ones that produced them or manufactured them, they brought for us to Gen Con the set that was there, and they've shipped the other sets, but they're shipped internationally, so I need to figure out where they are, if they've arrived yet or not. But once they've arrived, then we'll set a street date for them and get them up there. So thanks. I'm proud of those. That's my update from Gen Con for Bovie. My first ever contribution in terms of merch for Shadowrun and Battletech were the anniversary dice trays and dice sets. And Shadowrun sold out of dice sets, and like Battletech there were like 6 left or something like that. And so when we got on the call and merch came up, I was doing my hair flips because like I did so good. I think
Were those the resin dice?
they're the these are the Battletech ones.
Okay, yeah.
So
I'm seeing those.
yeah, so those almost sold out. The dice trays sold out. I didn't even get one of the dice trays. For Shadowrun, I got the dice tray, but I didn't get the dice set. They were gone by the time I got to them. But I'll get them somewhere else. It's fine. I'll wait. So I was super proud of that. MJK Whithouse says, is there an update on Randall's Europe stops for Operation Reunification? He did a ton of them after UK. I don't know, other than what's posted on the interwebs or on our socials. I'm not sure where Randall plans to go the rest of this year. I haven't been tracking that very closely. I don't know if he's going places after Essen or not, or before Essen. I know he'll be at Essen in Germany, but I'm not sure if he's doing more stops or not. What else? Do we have any other questions, mods? Thank you, mods, by the way. Thanks, Dave, and I know Tyler is in chat. And who else? Shock, I think, is here, and am I missing one of my mods? And Lorcan. Of course, Lorcan. So thank you guys for all you do. But is there any... Will some new stuff be sold at Essen? Yes. I think that... that's from Harold. I think everything that was available at Gen Con should be going. I know that we're taking all of that new stuff to PAX and to PAX West and to Nova. So all of that new stuff should also be available for Essen. They're getting their lists together to ship everything. So I don't know what the final list is. I meant to ask and forgot. Also, we didn't have the directors meeting today like we usually do. So, but I can try to get more of an update on what specifically, but a lot of that new stuff is coming. So, anything else? Check my mod doc one more time, but I think we might just be wrapping early. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Jay, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Please ping me anytime you've got a release coming up. We start marketing like 1 to 2 months out. So if you've got something coming up, let me know and we'll get you on a Tuesday Newsday so we can talk about it or do a separate interview.
Okay, cool. That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Really appreciate you being here with me. Hopefully my spiciness did not come out too much. I know I was distracted because I'm spicy, but really appreciate you all. And next week I will not be here because I'll be at Alliance Open House. So I'll be at a trade show, but the following week, the week of the 8th, 9th, I will be back. So thank you guys. Really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.